gotta do this here together.
Boss.
It take a team
Boss up.
to achieve the dream.
We pay the cost to be the boss. Invest without loss. Young Boss Media, your coverage get tossed. From live stats, videos too. Tapped in the movies, the who's a who. Shows, pros, just do it, Bo knows. Entrepreneurs, plan, see how it grows. Fly magazines, we flip the scene. Check out Ray James, he on the big screen. By invitation across the nation. Young Boss Monica, she know what she facing. The leader of the crew, she know what to do. Check her out the front if you wanna come through. Only if you got her master plan. Make it in the control room, holla at Stan. Bless the hairstyle, thank God we healthy. Bossed up media, we taking over Chelsea. Young Boss Media, who you need is us. In this community, what we feeding ya. Young Boss Media, who you need is us. In this community, what we feeding ya. Young Boss Media, who you need is us. In this community, what we feeding ya.
Welcome everyone to the How to Become an Author session. My name is Walter Hidalgo, and I'm humbled and grateful to be here with you all. And before I introduce our panelists, I just want to give a brief lay of the land. I'm going to give a brief introduction of myself and of the topic, and then I'm going to invite our panelists to answer a series of questions, with the first being an introduction of themselves, their book, and a summation of it. And then we'll go a little bit deeper and invite, if anyone has any questions or comments from the audience, to give some feedback and insight. I think it's important to ask, like, who am I? Who's this? Right? I'm no stranger to the Young Boss Media. I've known the goddess Monica for a long time. I myself fall under the umbrella of the topic here. So kind of a brief summation of me is I'm an educator, I'm a coach, I'm a father, I'm a global citizen, and I'm most definitely an author. Definitely a little shameless plug to my book. It's called Beyond the Four Walls, The Rising Ministry and Spirituality of Hip Hop. And next year, it will be its 10-year anniversary. So I'm super humble and grateful. So if you want to know how hip hop is spiritual and what it's doing both on a domestic and international level, I recommend you read this book. And this book evolved into a podcast that I have called Know Thyself Podcast. And I'm saying all this because this is not about me. It never is about me. It's about us. Because I'm excited to be here and listen to the goddesses speak, to listen to the community speak about something that I think is really important, right? As an educator, I always remember hearing my students tell me, Professor Walter, what's the point? Why am I here? Why am I taking this? So let me put it to you like this. When I was in grad school, I'll never forget Dr. Cone, rest in peace. He's the founder of Black Liberation Theology. Every single time he spoke, he always said, you must find your voice. And I think that's really important now more than ever, right? We're living in the age of information. We're living in the age of enlightenment. We're living in the age of technological boom, right? And the question is, what are you doing to allow your voice to be heard? And I'm always going to continue to be an advocate for publishing a book or anything written or a variation of, because it's an opportunity for you to put yourself out there. It's an opportunity for people to hear your voice. It expands the market if you want to go there, right? It allows other voices and people to be heard and to add into your conversation, right? Books have been made because of other books. So we're just compounding knowledge. So add to it. So I think it's important that we also, part of this discussion, really look at how being an author in 2020 and beyond, how does that look like? How's that work? What functions? What doesn't? What is an opportunity for us to drop gems, because this is very important, right? This is a topic that will never die out. Human language, the written language, will never die out. All right. So on that note, I want to introduce our panelists. The first person I want to introduce is the founder. I got to start off with her, but I'm going to ask each individual panelist to answer the same question to start us off. Just a brief introduction of yourself, the title of your most recent book, or the one you want to highlight, and also a brief sort of summary of the book. All right. So I want to start us off with the goddess, Monica Segment Grant.
Hey, what's going on? Doc, what's up? How you feeling?
Queen. I'm grateful.
All day.
I'm grateful.
Well, first of all, thank you for hosting this panel. I'm excited. I have been excited since this whole conference has come into the idea, into manifestation. And so I'm very happy to see you and taking control of the panel. Love that. Strong man in charge.
But we know who leads the pack, the woman. So I'm humble.
Always. As long as we got that understanding, we're going to be good. We're going to eat good. We're going to have shelter. We're going to be taken care of. We're going to smell good. Everything's going to be great. So like Brother Walter said, my name is Monica Segment Grant. I am the CEO, founder, president, executive producer of Young Boss Media, Young Boss Media Activist Institute. That is our nonprofit, Riacom Foundation, Riacom Media, Riacom Technology, Energy, and Maritime Group. I'm the president of those organizations. And I do a few other things in the world. And so because I am a young sister, Black woman in America, I done been through almost every hood. I done been in the trenches. I love the trenches. I know how to get it out the mud. I know how to go in the hood, talk the talk, walk the walk. I can go into the corporate office. I can go into the boardroom. And I understand what my people need. My people need this knowledge. And too many people want to hold back the knowledge because, you know, they got their own issues. But I ain't got no issue bringing out the knowledge. And that's why we're here today with this conference. So Mind Your Business and Prosper conference actually comes from my book, Mind Your Business and Prosper. Now, in the Black community, we know the phrase, mind your business. Mind your business. Just pay attention to what you got going on. And so that's exactly what it means. Like, in the world of the virtual world, don't get caught up in what these celebrities are doing, what people outside of your community is doing. You don't have to fight fires across the planet if you can't actually fight the fires that are happening within your own home, within your own community, within yourself. You know, so Mind Your Business and Prosper really focuses on business, but your first business is yourself. How is your mental health? How is your physical health? How is your relationship with your parents, your loved ones? There's a chapter about forgiveness in here. There's a chapter about being on time and being a person of your word. Because in business, if you are not a person of your word, listen, your contracts don't mean nothing. You know, your business meetings don't mean nothing. People will not respect you. And so a lot of the personality traits and the habits that we develop just as people, they impact your business so much. So Mind Your Business and Prosper, I target it towards young adults, young entrepreneurs, but really it's for the person that, you know, wants to just level up their life. And I'll give you a quick, just story. This book all came out of the quarantine. I knew going into 2020, I wanted to write a book, but I was motivated and inspired and pushed a little bit by Asiya Nasir Shahid. And she's actually on this panel as well today. She had a masterclass, an author masterclass that I took during May. And it was just like, yo, this has to be out now. And so right after her class ended, I launched the book on Juneteenth and I set a date. I finished writing it during that whole entire process. It was 9 weeks that I finished writing the book. We launched it and I said, yo, how about we do a conference around it? And bring all my friends together and let's, have conversations about being a better human being in business and in entrepreneurship. So that's why we're here today. And this is my book, Mind Your Business and Prosper. Thank you so much, Walter.
Thank you, Monica. Dropping gems already. Speaking of Asiya, how about we pass it on to you, sister?
That's right.
Hello, everybody. Peace and blessings. How's everyone? Can y'all? Okay, y'all can hear me good. So, so yeah, as you mentioned, my name is Asia Nasir Shahid. I am a full-time entrepreneur. Been so I fired my boss. I was in the corporate world for 27 years. I fired my boss. I don't believe in quitting anything, so I fired my boss in 2015 and started, doing my business, which was a nonprofit organization. I was doing it actually part time while I was working, and then started doing it full time. And it's called Jessica Cares, and the Jessica is in acronyms for what my whole mission is. And we work to empower young girls and women. And the Jessica in acronym stands for Journey to Becoming an Extraordinarily Strong, Successful Individual with Courageous Aspirations. And so we host webinars, workshops. The Authors Masterclass is one of them. We have our annual retreat. We do community initiatives that is part of empowerment. I think a lot of times people feel like empowerment is only in one form, but we show that there's different forms of empowerment, and to each one they gravitate to that and level up for themselves. So I've been doing that for the past, this November will be 10 years. And I also have a consulting firm called Utopian Enterprise Business Solutions, where I assist aspiring entrepreneurs and existing entrepreneurs to, get their business started doing it the right way, getting the foundation set up strong, and for those that are existing, taking their business to the next level. And it's all about the how-tos, how to do it. So you have the vision, but how do I take that vision and actually bring it to fruition? So that's my job, and I have a specialty in nonprofit. With my organization, I found people contacting me from Australia, Africa, the UK, and was like, I wish I could take your classes. So that developed the concept of I need to get what we do here to the masses. And that's when I launched my book, Mirror, Mirror on the Wall, Who Am I After All? And that's a 10-chapter book that is all about self-reflection and self-introspection. So it's not just reading the book, but then it's taking it to the next level, because I'm a transformational speaker also, and it's all about transformation. How do you take the concept of empowerment and really make it relatable to yourself, making the necessary changes? So each chapter has an exercise and a worksheet for them to do to really dig deep within and do the hard work that is difficult. And for a lot of our people in our community, we don't have doctors that we can go to. So you got to do your own work. And so as a coach, as a mentor, as a chief empowerment officer of my organization, my book gave that platform for many to be able to do the work and do the hard work, the grunt work, to really make that transformation from where they are, meeting them where they at, and then assisting them and taking them where they want to be.
I really hope to. Thank you so much, Asia. That was beautiful. I'm hoping for the listeners that you're starting to see threads here. It's really important, that connection between the written word and your purpose in life, right? Super important right there. Thank you so much for that. Kamisha Jeray Hodge.
Hey, everyone. My name is Kamisha Jeray Hodge. I am turning 31 in November, so I'm relatively young. I've been publishing since I was in high school, so for about 15 years now. My most recent poetry collection is called Woman Queer Black, and it is a sort of a journey and foray into what it means to be an intersectional, multifaceted Black woman who is in same-sex relationships, who is very aware of how the world sees me as a Black person, as a woman, and as a queer person. And so in creating that, I'm going to show you guys the cover of my book. It's available via pre-order, but this is the cover of my book.
That thing is lit. Look at that.
Thank you.
I love the colors.
I created Woman Queer Black as a book, but it turned into a larger project that turned into a speaking series, a writing coaching series, and for self-introspection. Aside from that, I have my very first book, which I published when I was 19 years old. Aside from being a writer, I am the CEO and founder of Sovereign Noir Publications, which is a Black woman-owned company that's completely committed to publishing, celebrating, and supporting Black women writers. my most recent client, Taytrice Harris. She is a attorney in New Orleans. I'm from DC. I live in Virginia. She just released Bitch Hunch on Juneteenth as well. I mostly publish books that are related to Black womanhood. This particular collection is about how women attorneys, judges, and other civil servants, while they work for the law, they've also been accosted significantly by the law. One of the stories in which ended in suicide because of her situation with the law. And so I'm very grateful to be here with a bunch of Black writers, Black authors, Black published authors. And I'm looking forward to hearing more about you guys and being able to answer as many questions as possible. I'm an OG in this thing. So, you know, I'm really excited to share as much information as I can. I, like Monica, am not afraid to share all of the information I have. And like you guys, I know that this is very important, especially in this time where Black unemployment rates or Black underemployment rates and Black creativity is just all over the place right now. So I appreciate you guys giving me this ability to, you know, participate in this platform and help people out.
Thank you, Kamisha. Wow, that's beautiful. But let me say this. This goes to show you that there is a career in this.
Yeah.
It's a super fact. Let's not undermine that, folks, to our listeners. That clearly, you know, throughout the course of time, of course, we can evolve and switch it up. But the fact that you've been doing this since at a young age, and then you've just sort of like blossomed into different branches, it's just a beautiful thing. And I just want to express that to let folks know that you can make this a lifetime thing and love it.
Absolutely.
And love it.
Absolutely.
Shanta Jackson, Queen, where are you?
Hello, everyone. I'm Shanta Jackson, the author of The Journal of a Woman with Lived Experiences, a 21-day guided journal, which is available at shantajackson.com. And my purpose in life is to help people to help themselves and others. I am a single mother. I am an author, social entrepreneur, and thought leader. For the past 11 years, I've worked with organizations across the United States to assist them with the strategy, implementation, and evaluation of socially conscious initiatives. And I've always wanted to write a book. I always thought it was going to be on a professional topic, but instead I had this epiphany, this aha moment to release my personal journal entries. I always journal and I throw them away out of embarrassment, shame, guilt. I didn't want anyone to ever see them. In October of 2019, I decided to publish my personal journal entries. And so in my book, I share 21 of my personal journal entries. My first story is a story of resilience, the power of storytelling. I also talk about the importance of positive affirmations, gratitude, self-validation, depending on a power greater than yourself, life visioning, different topics, relationships, mental health, stress, anxiety. And what's unique about this journal is a lot of people want to journal, but they don't know how or where to start. And this book teaches you how. A lot of our coaches, our mentors, therapists, mental health professionals, they're telling us to journal, but we don't know how. So this book is perfect for those individuals who kind of want a guide. So the format of the book is I introduce the topic. I'm wearing two hats. I'm a coach and an advisor, and then I'm the woman sharing my vulnerability. And I introduce the topic. And then after I introduce the topic, I share my personal journal entry, and then I provide a prompt for the reader. And then after the prompt, there are actually blank pages in the book for the reader to write. So it is a guided journal. And I look forward to this conversation. Thank you.
Beautiful, Shanta. Thank you so much. And I think what really struck me with what you're saying is that what I love about this topic is that when we talk about publishing, we're putting ourselves out there. We're being vulnerable about ourselves. And what bigger sacrifice I think that is to put yourself out there, as we say, because you never know what it is, those gems that you drop and that really might impact somebody's life. And I think that's why we are like ambassadors of our own right. We're representatives of our community, of our family. You know what I mean? And this is just an extension of what we are, and you exemplified that, Shanta. Thank you so much, Queen. That's beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Yeah, all of you. So let's begin. Let's start getting into this dialogue. Let's start chipping the ice a little bit here, right? And for crowd control purposes, let me call you out if you have if you want to respond to a question, etc. Feel free, but allow the person just to finish speaking, just so we can all, you know, hear each other well and not cross-pollinate with the audio too badly in that regard. All right. So this is the question. This is the one. Let's get right into it. And I really want to talk about process. And by process, I mean from the genesis to the end. Right. What was the motivating factor? What was the steps that you took from beginning to end to get to this process of writing your book? So that's what I really want to throw out there. So speak briefly on your journey of getting from point A to Z, if you will. And let's mix this up. Let's start off with Kamisha. Go ahead.
Well, I've been writing my whole life. So I started reading when I was 3, and I was writing by the time I was 4 or 5. And so when I published my first book, it was out of necessity. I was the very first person in my family to go to college. And I'm from Southeast DC. And if anyone knows anything about Southeast DC, it's not a great place to be.
Shout out to Chocolate City. I know all about DC. Yep.
You already know.
Yep.
And so being around, I've been around death my whole life. One of my closest friends got killed when I was 10 years old. And so knowing these stories and knowing how there are so many people talented, so many people who have so much potential in these neighborhoods, but these potentials are capsized because of different socioeconomic and governmental reasons. I felt like it was obligatory for me to tell the stories of these people, to talk about the conversations that are not being had in these larger realms of the colleges, the all white colleges, talking about poverty, talking about how my brother got killed when he was only 23, talking about how my nephew was an accident, but we love him to death. You know, talking about those sorts of things where people are in high school having to take care of their siblings. I found that it would be a disservice to myself if I didn't use the platform that I had to talk about these things that other people don't have the voice or the ability to talk about yet. So that was the motivation behind my writing my book. And it didn't take any time at all because those stories were so real and raw that I did it within, I think, maybe 30 to 60 days.
Wow. So what's the saying that life influences art or art influences life?
Life imitates art and art imitates life, yes.
Facts. So you had enough context for you to just say, I need to put this out there.
Yeah.
And that's a different story compared to someone else who has those like writer's block or like where can I get started? It's like, well, look at your own life. Why don't you start intro or start or maybe someone else's story, and be a sort of shadow author of your life. You know, people do that a lot too, you know. Monica.
Hey, I'm here.
I'm gonna put Same question. Talk to us about this process for you.
So the process for Mind Your Business and Prosper. So I'll say, so like Kamisha, this is my 4th book. And I've been a writer. I always wrote out of pain, you know, feeling like I was alone. I needed somebody to talk to. So I talked to that paper. Right. And so I realized I released my first book. It was a poetry book, Poems from My People and Me. The theme of my life is it's always gonna be for my people. And I realized after I released the book, I was like, oh, I don't really want to be like a spoken word artist. I just had these poems that I wanted to release. And through this process of like my 2nd book was about organizing, you know, teaching people how to community organize. 3rd book was about rules for a young boss. That was the name of it. Tips for, you know, young entrepreneurs, but not as advanced as this one. For me, writing is like a release. It's like a shedding for me. And with this book, Mind Your Business and Prosper, this year, 2020, has been such a transformation in my life. Anyone that's known me before January 1st can see like there's a complete transformation in my life. I went to Landmark. I created a lot of clearings in my life, forgave a lot of people. And I've always been a very introspective person where if there's a problem in my business, there's a problem within me, I have to fix it. And so I always set goals of Young Boss Media is this global company. I need, I need to fix whatever's in me to make sure that I can get it there. So with Mind Your Business and Prosper, I looked at it as I want to share my story of how I got here, but also I need to release some energy. And so part of the book was like, I'm not hiding anything. This is what happened. There was days when I was broke. There was days when I was in front of the judge and at housing court. There were days where I was struggling. And so like, I don't want to hold on to these stories. And then one day when you see me on the Forbes, you're like, oh, she always had it coming. She always had it good. Like, no, I didn't. I did not always have it good. And I really had to fight for this. There were days when I was asking people to swipe me on the train. Can you swipe me on the train? Can I, go into networking events because I knew they would feed me, because like I was that much in love with being an entrepreneur, being a business owner, and really getting it out the mud. And that's a part of the story that I don't see when I see like entrepreneurs on YouTube. They're always jumping out of Lamborghinis. I mean, I've been doing this for a minute and I'm successful, but I ain't got my Lamborghini yet. So like how, we ain't even go into that. But I wanted to tell the true story. And so, like I said before, I went to Asia's masterclass during the quarantine, and I knew that this was just like the right time. I knew this was the right time for me to release, where I was coming from, because I know where I want to go. And speaking to Shanta, I did an interview with Shanta, and she broke down like, this is how you write the book. And she'll even tell you, like, I was kind of in the in-between phase of like, I think I'm publishing a book. I might be publishing a book. And immediately, right after I spoke to her, it was like, I'm publishing this book. And then I had to deal with Asia every Saturday, and it just kept getting more advanced and advanced. I was like, this book is going to come. And so I had a group of interns. I got these dogs. I had a group of interns, and I was like, listen, we're going to launch a book on Juneteenth. The book ain't finished, but the book will be finished by the time we release it. And that's exactly what happened. We launched the book on Juneteenth because that's the, Black holiday. So, I believe in numbers. The Illuminati ain't the only people that play around with numbers. And then I had 9 weeks to finish the book, finish writing it, editing it, getting the cover design for it. A lot of things that I learned with Asia, a lot of things that I took from Shanta, and I put all my flaws in one unit and said, here's to the world. I release it, I grew from it, and I hope that you can grow from it as well. Mm-hmm. So Mind Your Business to Prosper, it's me being vulnerable, but also saying, I ain't the only one. You got issues too. You can read about mine if you want, but it is what it is. And so that's my story to the world. And there'll be more, because I expect to hit other levels. This is just one level for me. When I get to the next level, I'll write about Mind Your Business and Prosper Conference and what it was like to be on this panel and things like that, So at each level, I'm gonna release some skin and keep growing.
Thank you, Monica. Shanta, talk to us about your process, Queen.
Yes. A to Z. I started my journal in early 2019. I knew it was going to be something special. Actually, I was saving it for my son. My grandparents, I have personal memories of them, but sometimes the stories are from my dad and my great-great-grandparents and so on. I don't have an account from them of who they were. So that's what I was doing with my journal originally. It was just for my son. And I even wrote in the book and in the journal, in life, this book belongs to Shanta Jackson, and in death, it belongs to my son. And in July of last year, my cousin, we were really close, grew up as brother and sister, 3 weeks apart. He died of cancer. And I saw him in that casket. And when you see something like that, it's like, you know what? I'm about to do whatever I want in life. I'm going to be unapologetic. This can be taken. This could be me. It could be any one of us, at any time. This is how life is, especially we see this now in 2020. But that happened. And then I started to get a little embarrassed about my topics. And so when a guy that I was dating at the time in the fall of last year, I read a journal entry to him, and I told him that I was thinking about throwing it away like I had done in the past. And he said, no, it could probably help someone. And that's when I kind of got that aha moment And so what I did is I started researching, not necessarily how to write a book. My background, I do curriculum development and facilitation and training. So I understood the concept of having the outline and breaking out my sections and what I want to talk about. And so the writing part, I understood that. But so then I started researching, what are my publishing and distribution options? And so there's your literary agent or your traditional publishing company where you can submit a submission, a kind of like a proposal. This is what I'm thinking about, but you kind of lose some of the autonomy. And then I'm not popular. I'm not famous enough. So who are these people? Unless I have some connections, and you never know what happened in life, right? And so that wasn't an option for me, and I wanted to get this done fairly quickly. And so then I started looking at some of the internet publishing options, and I researched, for example, KDB Publishing, Amazon, and I decided that it wasn't the best option for me because now I'm thinking about your E40s and your Master P. I'm thinking about my royalties. I'm thinking about like the music business, right? And so I do understand the mass distribution opportunity, but at that time I decided that, self-publishing is the best route for me. So then I started researching, okay, so how do I market this book? And my book, so it's 21 days because I started with the individuals that I engage with on social media. I asked them, would you want a year-long journal? Is it 50 days, 60, 45? And the majority of people said 21 days. And I understood why they said 21 days because it's set by experts or by many experts that if you do something consecutively for 21 days, it becomes a habit. So that's why so my marketing began when I was writing the book. I started to engage my audience. And then even, so this is what I learned of how to market. So do it while you're writing. And even my cover design, I kind of played around with some stuff on Canva, and I would post it and people would give their insight on what they thought was their insight. But then I identified 3 distribution companies. So I chose what's called, so there's print on demand. That's an option as well. But again, I'm not really into the giving out the royalties. And so I purchased my books wholesale. That's what I decided to do. And so I have my own website, shantajackson.com. I'm doing my own distribution, my mailing, my shipping. I'm getting 100% of my proceeds. My next step, I would like to turn my book into an audiobook before I release the next one. And even though the mass distribution route, I don't think was a good return on my investment at the beginning, but I everything that I invested in my book, as far as the formatting, the editing, I had an editor, a professional editor. I had professional formatting, professional cover design. After all of that initial investment, even the photography for my cover of the book, my website, all of that stuff, I got my return. Even just my initial wholesale cost of my book, my first batch, I think I paid $5 per book. It's called Book Baby. They're in Jersey and South Jersey. And I didn't pay for shipping. Right now, they don't allow pickup because of COVID-19. But so I sold those 250 books. And then my second batch, and I paid $5 each wholesale. My second batch, I negotiated. I got it for like $2.66 or something like that. I asked for a discount because I said, hey, I can order with Amazon and just print with them. It's just customer service. And I like the fact that I can call and talk to a human. But anyway, I purchased 500 copies of those books, and I'm still working on that. But now I'm actually open because I can do speaking engagements and I can sell those books, but to open my platform, now I'm more so open to seeing how I can get mass distribution in like your Barnes and Nobles and your Amazon, because I feel like I've built up enough and I've done enough marketing for myself to where I'm okay with sharing some of those proceeds if I can bring in more income for myself.
And I appreciate you going that in depth because you pretty much answered a lot of you segued us into the next piece, because the technicalities, if we're going to talk about how to become an author, I really want to hear about those technicalities. Like, for example, for me, I self-published, and there was a reason I did that. And I was motivated because of a graduate thesis that I wrote. So I never thought I'd write. I was almost like put in a corner to do it. But I want to hear from Asia as well of your process from A to Z to get you to write the book that you have out now.
Wow. My journey took a little bit longer. The actual writing of the book in and of itself, it happened in spurts. Not because I didn't have the content or knew what I wanted to say, but I was sharing a lot of intimate things that until the book actually came out, there were some family members that didn't even know some of the trauma that I experienced as a child. And so when I got to writing that particular chapter, I would say, I had to actually put the book down, because I had only expressed what had happened to me to one person, and that was my father. And that was a year before he passed away. So right after I had shared that with my father, what had happened to me, which, it's no secret, I've been able to talk about it. I was molested as a child. And when I shared that with my father, it was that moment where I felt like I knew I had to be more transparent, authentic about my journey, because my whole empowerment program and my mission is empowerment. And the only way you can empower is you have to embrace everything that makes you who you are today. And that was part of my story. So when I started writing it, I had wrote up to like 6 chapters, and that was, I wrote that and I had to put down for, and then my father passed away. And if anyone knows me, anyone knows that was my best friend. So that took I had to digest that. And then when I felt that I was ready to really give of myself, I was at another level because of, going through that. I was able to complete the other 4 chapters that were in the book. And my particular journey was just basically to really do the work. We see, Super Soul Sunday with Oprah, Iyanla Fix Your Life, whatever, Iyanla Van Zandt Fix My Life. And it was, sometimes you don't get to go to a therapist. As I was mentioning in my introduction, sometimes you don't have that to be able to go to a therapist, and you may not even have the family or community support to be able to really do the work. And so sometimes you just it's just you and your creator, and you have to just do your work. And so it's that platform to have a space to be able to dig deep and do the work, to be able to have them get to from point A to point Z, in their own particular life. And so it was really talking about self-esteem issues, and self-empowerment. And that was because that was my journey, and not as a child, not having self-esteem. A lot of people see you here and they think, oh, well, you got it, that, like Monica was saying. But it was like, no, there was a journey that happened in my book. There's a lot of that. So in some of the chapters we talk about, like, the bully within, the negative thoughts, your own negative thoughts, forgiveness, that includes you. So a lot of things that many of us deal with, but don't exactly know how to get from pain and trauma to, I'm not just a survivor, I'm an overcomer. So that was what this book, and it took me 6 years to actually publish the book. So when I actually did it, I did go the mass distribution route, and I went through Amazon, and it worked out for me because it gave me a platform to be able to put Amazon behind my name, which I was not, as you mentioned, this celebrity or anything, but I had enough connections, being involved in the community and doing the things that I was doing through Jessica Cares. I was able to then self-publish the book through Amazon, and it's been a beautiful, beautiful process. I've taken my book on tour. We've been able to go from the East Coast literally to the West Coast to California. And each book we did kind of similar to what Monica is doing. We did a retreat. So it was, the book is coming. We're doing a book tour. You're going to get it signed and all that stuff. But we made it an empowerment day for the girls and the women that came. So we workshops, motivational speaking going on, transformational exercises happening, and then the book signing afterwards. So it's been just a beautiful, beautiful process to, get the book in the hands of people that I thought I would never meet. And the, publishing this book allowed me to be able to take my business, my entrepreneurial, journey to a whole level, and reaching people on a different platform. I've had people email me, telling me the book, and it was so helpful to them. That was my mission. It was, I had prayed literally in 2014. I'll never forget this. It was December 13th, 2014. I literally prayed. I don't know in what capacity. I just want you to use me. And my book has been just another level of being able to be used for empowerment. And I felt that publishing it myself and not going through a publishing company was so important, because in our community, we don't have enough. I'm talking about Black and brown, I'm Afro Latina, African American, any form of Black and brown. We don't have enough ownership. We don't have enough ownership. And I think that is so important. And that's what my author's masterclass is all about, is teaching. We have to now own our own purse, so to speak, own our own, where we want our money to go, and being the owners of our own work. Somebody doesn't dictate how or where you're going to go to distribute your book, where you're going to go to empower and help other people. So that was my journey. And I published my book in December of 2018 and had our very first book signing in January of 2019. So.
Whoa. See, I try to talk, because Monica caught me, like, because I think having a girl has made me very emotional. So I'm trying not to cry, because I'm so proud of all you. So I'm just going to leave it at that. But I have to ask this question, okay? And I want Kamisha to answer this for me, because she's the OG up in here with this, right? Real quickly, Kamisha, give us, like, literally, like, okay, I don't know what to do. What do I do to publish a book? Like, what's step one? What are the most important? Like, who do you go to? Who should I, the little gems that you can give us, or all of you, but I want to hear from Kamisha.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, so first and foremost, when you're trying to decide publishing, because it's more than just getting your book out. It's about collecting pre-orders. It's about having that website with that domain and a host to do the pre-sales on. It's about trying to make sure that your book is not the only revenue stream for the book. If you're going to have a book, you can have some merch. You can have a speaking series. You can have a retreat. Like, you have to make sure that you monetize your book to its full potential. And that's what a lot of authors don't necessarily get right the first time. I'm going to head back to publishing and distribution really quickly. One thing that I always emphasize with my clients is that if you're going to be an author, buy the ISBN yourself. ISBNs are not the same as copyrights. You already have the copyrights. When you're working with a publishing company, when you're deciding to put your book on Amazon or Ingram Spark, you need to make sure that ISBN is in your name, because that is what has the publishing rights. So if Amazon, right. Exactly. If Netflix says, oh, wow, we like this book and we're going to turn it into a series. If you're using Amazon's ISBN, guess who they're going to go to? Not you, because Amazon owns the masters. So you want to make sure that you actually own your work. I'm working with someone right now. Her documentary was owned by Viacom. It's on airplanes. It's on Netflix. She hasn't gotten one cent from it. Why? Because she did not own her masters. You have to own your ISBN. Whoever has the ISBN has the rights, period. Okay? ISBNs are $125 for one. They're $275 for a 10-pack. They're $575 for a 100-pack. Bowker.com, BOWKER.com are what provides those. An additional thing to know about publishing is there are different types of publishing. You have traditional publishers, which I believe Shanta talked about before. You have hybrid publishers who sort of alleviate the costs for you, but most of the time they maintain the ISBNs. They'll usually do a royalty split where you get 60, they get 40 or something pretty decent like that, as opposed to self-publishing or co-publishing. We co-publish, but essentially we handle the self-publishing process. We buy the ISBN, put it in your name for Ingram Spark, who distributes to 40,000 different outlets. We create that account for you. Literally, you need to make sure that you're aware of everything from marketing. You need to make sure that you know who your distributors are. You need to know what your printing fees are. You need to know what your distribution fees are, because most companies take 30% off the top. And it goes back to making sure that you're planning. That's the most. I cannot enforce the idea of planning enough. You have to plan. You have to think about, well, when am I going to release my book? Am I rushing the book's release? Why do I need to release it at this time? Is this a good time? Is this a saturated market time? A lot of people like to do book releases in December. It doesn't make sense, because people are not going to be focused on your book in December. It's a harsh truth, but it's the truth. You want to make sure that you're very well aware of how much your costs are going to be. Like I said, one ISBN itself is $125. You know, you have to get that professional editor. You have to get the professional graphic designer. You have to buy the domain. You have to make sure that you have some place like PayPal or Stripe that'll be able for you to accept payment. So all of those things. I said all of that to say that it's not something to take lightly. Authorship, as I always say, your book is your business. It's literally an entire business. You're in charge of marketing. You're in charge of the rollout. You're in charge of making money off of it so that you can continue to make and continue to see increase in revenue. So at the end of the day, if you want to write a book, that's great. Publishing a book is a whole different animal. You really have to sit and think and plan, especially because we're in a time now where print books have gone up 30% according to Publishing Weekly. And that's because people are bored at home and not doing anything. But ebooks are not going anywhere. So if you're thinking about publishing an ebook, one of the things to think about, and I'm going to let this be my last point because I don't want to take up too much time. If you're going to publish an ebook exclusively, put it on your website. Okay? There's no reason for you to give Amazon 50% of your royalties when you can just put it on your website as an automatic download and get all 10 of your dollars. It doesn't make sense. I always encourage, if you're going to use a distributor, also do it on your website. You can have those just in case you have the people, oh, I only buy Kindle, that's fine, it's on Kindle. I only use Nook, that's fine, it's on Nook too. But go to my website. And if you go to my website, you'll get this additional bonus. So those are some of the things that you want to think about when you're publishing, because it's not just a thing to do. It's literally a business.
You got to approach it like if you're starting a business, you have to have a business plan, right? That's exactly the point that you're making out there with first, because what we're doing, y'all, we can't, separate things like this, right? This is art. This is no different than the music industry. This is no different than a canvas or a brush or curriculum. Like you do, Shanta, I do that as well. We got a IP that we have to make that stuff our own masters so that when it gets redistributed, we still get a cut off that and we get that acknowledgement that we need. Real quickly, as we wrap this up, we're done. We have a few minutes left. We'll wrap it up. I just want to say, go ahead, Shanta. Go ahead, sir.
That's my mom.
Oh my God.
She looks like she can be your sister.
I was going to say.
She looks like she could be your sister.
That's my hype woman. Everything that I do, she supports me.
And I think that's a good way to wrap up. Like, use the community. Start with the people that you love, right? Look at people who have already done this, right? That's a mentor. This is a business adventure. We tap into marketing, distribution, overhead, people, graphics design. So make sure you have that team in place, whoever that may be, to help you to get to that next level, because you're dealing with multiple entities, right? And it's only building yourself. You're putting out into the world. And I'm so proud of y'all ladies, man. And shout out to everyone. If you want to be an author, holla at the Young Boss Media team and group. And thank y'all for coming. God bless y'all.
Thank you.
Peace.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We out.
With